I would tell you that's one of the things I love about Mark is the guy's always prepared. And I think that's important in our business. And when we were talking yesterday, one of the things that popped in my head, I said, Les Brown has one of my favorite quotes, which is, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an
Mm,
opportunity and not be prepared. And so I think knowledge and being prepared and understanding what you're doing, you never know when an opportunity is going to come up, but when you're prepared, much more likely to be successful in whatever you're trying to do. So, um,
amen.
Mark, we had here on Monday or Tuesday, I was honored to have a couple of our executives from Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices come out from Irvine to Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And then our buddy Jimmy Burgess helped me select some of the people that he thought were the best agents. And we got some marketing directors that were really top of the line when coming to social media and marketing and everything, because I'm trying to figure out as we move forward, you know, how do we change our image with consumers and agents in the marketplace, but not get away from the things that we really do well, that that Berkshire Hathaway should always lean to is integrity, trust, financial stability, because we're dealing with a huge real estate asset here, being real estate, the largest asset for many people, and people need to trust us, right? People need to know we can get that done. But then on the other side of this is, how do we have this image of like, listen, we're this fun, innovative, cool, hip, forward type of thinking organization, and that's our, and we're continuing to grow and learn and be successful. And I think those two images can coexist. So it was really a great couple of days of bringing some brilliant minds in here and giving us lots of ideas as we move forward. So that was really, really fun. But it was all about talking about marketing and how do we communicate and what avenues do we use and how do we do it different than we have in the past. So we've got some great stuff ahead of us on that. And your name came up many times in that conversation when we were talking about, well, Mark and Thousand Watt does this, and why don't we incorporate this or that into what we're doing? So it
No,
was a fun couple
that's
days.
cool. I think when I hear the words, we should. Well, I'm glad it went really well, Vince.
Thank you.
And it's really cool that because I don't really see this happen that often, where teams get together and really think about how to project meaning out into the world, uh, and attract people to meaning as opposed to service. And the reason why it's important is, America's filled with real estate agents. I saw a stat today, there are more real estate agents in America than homes for sale. So, like, if
Wow.
everybody is promoting their service as a real estate agent, um, there's a term called red ocean uh, versus blue ocean. It's a great book. I don't read many business books. I just, like you, I run a business, and I learn about running a business by staying focused on running the business and understanding how it works. But there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and I'll, in a nutshell, it's
Hey, Mark, real quick. Hey, Sam, I saw someone say they're hearing an echo. I'm hoping that's not everybody. I just read that on the chat down there. Someone said they hear an echo. So I don't
yeah,
know. Do
I
I
don't
need to
know.
Yeah,
mute?
I'm looking into it. It doesn't look like it's system wide, so it might be just on that
Okay, everyone
person's
else is
side of
saying they
it.
don't have one.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Thanks so
Good.
much.
So hopefully that's on their computer. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have a couple hundred people here all having an echo. Sorry about that, Mark. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
It's looking like no echo for most people. So,
Yeah.
in this book, it's basically saying that in the world of competition, competition lives in a red ocean. There are many car manufacturer brands that are all competing against each other. Red ocean. Hotel brands, red ocean. Real estate brands, red ocean. The trick for every brand is to try to find the blue ocean where there's nobody there, and you swim out into this unclaimed territory, and you stand out. So they refer to that as blue ocean strategy. I don't see very many people sitting around with marketing teams or their customers or members and try to strategize around how do we get out into blue ocean. But I'm curious because the words fun, innovative, modern, I think it's important to put some context to it and really understand, because fun could be misinterpreted.
Yep.
Innovative can be misinterpreted. Modern can be misinterpreted. Uh, and as you think about, like, okay, uh, think about Liquid Death. We had the chief creative speak at Signal last week, and he was referring to if anybody hears a Liquid Death connoisseur or has studied their marketing. As the way Andy put it, their marketing is dumb. They focus on dumb marketing, dumb storytelling. It's a lot of fun, but it's all based on how dumb can we be.
Yeah.
The Berkshire Hathaway brand.
We don't want to be perceived as be very good.
Dumb. Yeah. But like smart could be fun. Smart could be innovative. Being confident can be innovative. Like there are really good words and terms that we can apply to those ideals that really help us understand, like, how do we present to the world? Did you guys do any of that kind of whiteboarding around the terms itself to figure out, like?
Mark, what we did is we went through a lot of the marketing pieces that we have, things that we were working on that are going to get rolled out here pretty soon that we're making improvements on.
Right.
And then it was really, as we move forward, what do we need to do different than we've got? How do we reach different? How do we utilize social media differently? How do we utilize video differently? How do we wordsmith things differently, right? Keep talking about, that so often in real estate, from our marketing directors to our agents, they're not doing real marketing. They're mainly doing more self-promotion. And how do we change that image? And a couple other words that I use is like, let's be this cool, hip place. And we can be that, and we can still be that trusted advisor where people feel confident that they can get their house done, and they know that we're here to support them through that process. And I think real estate, Mark, should be, I think one of the things that is upsetting to me is too often a real estate transaction is too stressful. It should be an easy, simple, stress-free transaction that our clients enjoy. I mean, this should be an exciting time in their life, not a crazy, stressful time in their life.
Yeah, it should be. There's always going to be stress, but it's it's funny. I'm laughing because you refer to me as always being prepared. I am not prepared in any aspect of my life other than work.
Well, you seem prepared when I talk. You got a lot of ideas.
Well, I take my job seriously, but in the rest of my life, it's chaos. But like, the point of being prepared is because I'm prepared, you don't have to worry. I know you're busy. So my role, I've assumed a role of like being prepared for us. And I think and I think your listeners, and I think Berkshire Hathaway agents, at least most, if not all the ones that I've met, are a step ahead or two of their client. Vince, this is something that I'm been thinking about doing for the next explosion in Laguna, because I'm already thinking ahead for that one. What could I do that's different? And I often talk about customer journey mapping. And you and I hadn't planned to talk about this, so let's not delve too deep into it. But it just to leap off this springboard that you set up. When you customer journey map, it's a science. Companies do it. IKEA did it. IKEA figured out how to get you to walk through the door and walk through that store and not get overwhelmed. Like at home, if you go to that store, they haven't figured out how to take you through the journey of that store. Everything's chaotic and all over the place. If you map the transaction from the beginning of the transaction to the end, what you would realize, if you really think about it, is that the beginning of the transaction doesn't happen when real estate thinks it happens, and it doesn't end when real estate thinks it happens. It happens way before, and it doesn't end.
Yeah.
How many times you sell a house to somebody, they move into a house, and then as they're driving around the neighborhood, they're like, oh, look at that house for sale, or let's go to that open house. The journey never ends. But if you really understand the transactional journey, you start realizing that there are things that buyers and sellers are going to get confronted with. And if we don't prepare them for it ahead of time, they're going to get stressed out.
Yeah.
So I think creating a journey mapping discipline is something I think I can help everybody do down the road.
I love it.
But in terms of marketing, it's, and that's why this research is so hip, because what we're learning in real time is what people are focused on at the moment. And too much social media, it always comes down to this social media. It's just become this giant boulder in our pool, and it gets so much attention. And I do understand why. But I said this to you a little bit earlier, guys. Real estate people are mostly just caught up in the act of marketing, but they're not caught up in the discipline of marketing. They're not being marketers.
So what? Yeah. So what do you mean by that, Mark? For clarity for everybody.
It's like I don't know, like a newspaper boy, right? He's just on his bike with newspapers, flinging them onto lawns. He doesn't care about where he doesn't own the paper, doesn't care where the newspaper lands. He's just throwing papers out. He's certainly not reading the paper. He's not printing the paper. He doesn't care about the quality of how the paper is once it lands on wherever it lands. I think real estate people are just paper boys. They're just flinging content into social, but they're not actually applying the thinking. They're not being marketers, which is why you see study a feed. You'll see one post is about this, one post is about that, one post is about this, another post is about that. Here's a post that's like a trend post that 10 other agents are doing, and there's no consistency. It's just throwing stuff out there to see what clicks, and it's throwing stuff out in such frequency that people are playing what they think is the algorithm, not even realizing that the algorithm has changed, that the way networks are evaluating content has changed. So like, I just think it's important to also wear the marketing hat.
Got it.
Okay.
Well, Mark, I know you and you've got a bunch of slides. So I think you're set up, Sam. I think he's set up to share some of these slides. Let's dive into what some of the surveys have told us that we can share with these people, and then start talking about some marketing ideas that we think can come out of there if we could.
Okay. So for everybody, and there's a lot of people, I'm going to show one slide with just one piece of feedback, and then we're going to gift you with a lot of creative on how to play it. Let me just share my screen.
And I think some people might be surprised at what this survey says here, Mark.
I would be surprised if they're surprised. Only because, like, if you put your marketing hat on and pay attention, like, you wouldn't be surprised. Now, I'm going to advance my screen. It may not advance, so let me know. So I'm on the homepage now.
Yep, looking good.
Yep, you're there. You're doing good.
All right. Did it now switch to the next?
Yep, you're looking good.
The survey's up there.
Okay. So look at this. What do you think your real estate agent's number one job in your home sale transaction? Well, according to 32% of the respondents, to negotiate with buyers and their agents. We don't.
And that was the highest ranked answer there.
The highest rank, followed by to promote my home.
Yeah.
Price. So let's just take a second, guys. When you look at this information, these are consumers answering the question, what is the agent's number one job? The agent has a job. The agent has been taught by the cadre of marketing gurus out there that their job is to get more leads. So to do whatever you need to do on the internet to get more leads. I'm not going to discount we all need leads. There are two ways to get leads. You either really force them into your world or you invite them into your world. I believe strongly as a marketer, somebody who's done this my whole career, that the strongest play is to invite people into your world, not try to drag them and put a noose around them and pull them in. It's a difference, Vince, that you and I talked about between promotional and brand marketing. So here you're looking at 5 things that people. So the first thing I would do is, if I'm an agent, I'm looking at this going, okay, marketing a home is really important to them. So I really need to think strongly about my marketing game plan, my marketing playbook. How do I show up? Blue ocean. How do I show up with a different marketing plan on how I'm going to market a home than every one of my competitors? And it really requires you to sit down and think about that. Pricing the home properly, I'm sure that's no surprise. But the one that I fixated on is to negotiate with buyers and their agents. And I fixated on that. And I have a question for both you guys.
Yes.
I look at a lot of marketing every day. I'm looking at it. We have tons of clients. We look at their stuff. I have not seen anything in years and years beyond I'm a good marketer. I mean, I'm a good negotiator.
Everybody says they're a good negotiator. Yes.
Okay. Well, to me, that's Rain Man saying I'm an excellent driver. Uh, you can say whatever you want, but it doesn't make it true. And if you have no proof behind that, uh, I can say I'm a great marketer. And if I have no proof beyond that, then you either believe me or you don't believe me. But I think that there is a world of opportunity here, because it's important. People want a good negotiator. So I took this challenge upon myself when I got back from Signal. How would I, if I were tasked as an agency to come up with a marketing campaign around negotiation skills, what would I do?
Yeah. You've got some great stuff here. So people
Okay.
pay attention to this.
And I would, okay. So Vince, what I also want people to pay attention to is like, follow my lead in terms of like how I build out, because I don't just start being creative. You gotta, it's like I'm an old car with a choke. You gotta start it slowly, pull the choke out, warm it up, and like let it run for a bit. So like I start with like the problem, my solution. I need a campaign about the most claimed, least proven skill in real estate. The reason why I do this is because I understand, I've learned because I've been taught how the brain works. You got to ask your brain the right question. Because it's like if you say to yourself, how come I suck? Your brain is going to tell you why you suck and fill you with reasons why you suck, and then you're going to suck even more. So you want to feed your brain with a great question. I need a campaign about the least most proven skill in real estate. It gets the brain spinning. And then I just create this slide on my whiteboard or wherever I'm working is my insight. Negotiation, and this is sort of my thinking, negotiation shouldn't be something that happens on the day of. Like a good negotiator is someone who shows up on the moment when an offer is made, and then they turn on their negotiation. That's a good negotiator. I want to be a great negotiator. I want to start thinking about my negotiation skill sets from day one, the moment it starts, the moment I get an offer, an opportunity to even take a listing or to show property. I'm already, my eyes are just focused on every detail. If I'm establishing price, my staging, everything is about setting me up to be the greatest negotiator, which is if I'm a listing agent, it's to protect that price. That everything I do is setting me up to go, no, sorry, $895, that's the price. And I've got every single receipt to prove it. So it's playing out every objection in advance. It's playing chess. It's being prepared. That's what being a great negotiator is. But we don't want to necessarily say that. That's not the copy, because that's not interesting. Interesting copy, like to your point, Vince, the copy should be fun. It should be
fun,
innovative. So then I came up with an overall theme. Maybe it's a slogan, maybe it's a headline, but it's like, it's what everything I'm going to then create follows, has to ladder up to this. Negotiations are won before they begin. This streamlines my thinking, so I'm not all over the place creating content about different things. Everything that I'm going to write and present is to support that one line. That's how a marketer plays it out. I love your illustration of Richard Branson. I got this totally from you. The way you describe him is this is an elegant British Londoner who is a billionaire, who's also super fun, super modern, super innovative, and is super wealthy. Like he embodies all the flavors of what a campaign. Do you agree with that, guys?
Oh, totally. Mark and I were talking about, re-image, and cool was one of the words. And I'm like, cool's not just young, cool can be old. And I said, look at Richard Branson, right? The guy's probably 70 years old. But I said, that would be my definition of cool, and I think he really does embrace it. Like he's unique, he's himself, he's confident without being arrogant. I mean, he has all of the definitions of what I think, cool would be. And so that's how this conversation started yesterday or 2 days ago, or whenever we talked about that this week.
I love that illustration. And he's also approachable. Like
He's approachable, which I think is a very important word, Mark, for all of us.
I mean, that's cool to be approachable, like to be some kind of, luxury real estate agent person that's hard to reach, and you don't put your phone number anywhere, you don't return calls. Like that's not cool. It's not cool on any level. So like, it's always good to create a persona. Like that's what he is. He's a persona. He's personifying what the brand is. He's personifying the kind of customers we want. We want to work with people like him. So that means that when writing a campaign, we know that because we're Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, we're a serious company, heavily steeped in the world of wealth and finance, that there should be some gravity or seriousness to our content. But we can also be wry. We can be funny. We can have fun, but in a smart, approachable, confident way. So Vince, what we're going to show is these are ad copies. Now, Vince, you've said this many times, and I support this 100%. This is not meant to cut and paste. Sure, you could do that, but like, I see a lot of agents in Southern California and La Jolla. If you're all running the same exact ad, it's just going to, and I know that copying things seems to be a trend for social, but if I can just digress a second, I don't know. Like if I went to a party and there were 5 other people dressed with the exact same clothes that I'm wearing, I'd be horrified. Now, I don't know why that's not acceptable in the real world, but it's okay to copy somebody else's content and put it up. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a very bad idea. It's not.
Yeah. And so, Mark, really, this is meant to make you think differently, think out of the box, right, and become creative in what you're doing. And
yes,
and we're going to be talking about negotiating, and he's putting some pieces together here. I mean, it is very, very, very rare that I ever see real estate people, brokerages, marketing departments, or agents come out and put a marketing piece out there that is centered around negotiation. So I think this negotiation conversation is something that many of you guys should embrace as part of a marketing campaign that you may do.
This is important. People are saying that this is the number one.
It's the most important thing that they want, above picking a price.
Also, when I'm building a campaign, I think about, well, one piece doesn't go everywhere. I have to think about each platform, like what I would put on in print. Maybe if I'm going to put an ad in the Wall Street Journal or the Business Press or in a listing presentation, the copy would be a little bit different. The flavor would be different than maybe something I'm putting on social. So like, this is just copy for like a print ad. Your counter offer was written 3 weeks ago. Again, that's supporting negotiations are won before they begin. When an offer arrives in our listings, we've already pre-inspected the home. We priced every repair. We're armed with comps, bids, and answers to questions the other side didn't think about. When the other side goes looking for their angle to lowball, we hand them our binder. That's a mic drop. It's a lot better than we're good negotiators. The point is now I want to show you, I wrote that, but I wrote variations of that. And this is really to show you that there are endless variations that you can write. The negotiation started when we pre-inspected your roof, or it could be a negotiation started when we scouted your property before the listing presentation. There's many angles you can play. Every agent says they're a great negotiator, asks to see the binder. Because I've written comedy skits for many, many years, I always think about words, what words are funny and what words are not funny. You just have to have an ear. I find the word binder funny. So I see it in writing. I like that word. And I had different words here. I had folder, which is also kind of funny, but binder is even funnier. So it's also important to, like, when you're writing copy, to try use a thesaurus, look for words that might just have a greater pattern interrupt because you don't see them that often. And then this is where, like, this is confidence. Negotiation is the most claimed skill in real estate, but it's also the least proven. Don't take the claim, take the evidence. This is just another way to play that ad out. So these are ads that I would put out, or I might even consider copy like this on my website in my list with us section, where I've inserted copy that may look more like marketing than it does web copy. We know what will happen before they do. Good negotiators read the moment. Great ones read the file. So I'm going to share this with everybody. So I don't have to spend time on every single one, but this is like good for print. And guys, Sam, Vince, any thoughts just on that section alone?
Sam, especially as we're going to social. I mean, do you have any thoughts on any of this? I mean, I think this is something that just is not, to me, when Mark started talking about negotiation, I'm like, I don't ever see agents put things out there from a marketing perspective talking about this subject matter. So, I mean, I think it's a wonderful subject, especially when we see the survey to see how important it is to clients.
What I wrote down was negotiations begin before they even get started, right?
Right.
The thing that comes to mind is, we still have agents today that are touting as part of their value proposition that they do professional photography, as if that was an outlier today. I can't tell you how many times on Broker Caravan I've seen something already listed and the photos look beautiful because we all have Photoshop and we all hire professional photographers today. But the moment you walk across the threshold, the price starts chipping away downward because you see all the scuffs in the baseboards, the fact that it wasn't painted around. And I would argue, and I think this is Mark's point, that the value proposition and the negotiation that you had with the seller right at the beginning to prepare that home so that they had even a better experience when they walked across the threshold than they did when they saw it online and all those pictures is part of this entire process, right? And I don't think that we think that deeply into it. And I'm loving, I mean, absolutely love all of this. Right.
Sam, if I were an agent, I would walk into a listing presentation and have the word negotiation on a card or in my whatever, or in my talking point and say, I want to talk to you about the negotiation process because I know it's important. Because now it's important. They may not have told you, but So perceiving what people are feeling is a very strong brand pheromone. And then these are your sound bites. Negotiation starts right now, this second, as I scan your house, as I talk to you guys, as I think about what you want and what you need. Vince, you were talking to me the other day about mindfulness and being very aware of the client and of the client's needs. Do you want to just spin that up a little bit in more detail for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, we were talking about this. It's like you have to be prepared, right? You want to know what is important. What's the motivating factors of a client? So we're talking about sellers here specifically. I think in that case we weren't. Is like I'd like them to tell us what they think the house is worth. What were the motivating factors of why they bought the house? What are the things they love about the house? Because if we find out the things that they loved about the house, that could very well be what the next buyer is going to love about the house, right? Is it the convenience to the park? Is it schools? Is it the backyard? Is it whatever it is? So I think being prepared is finding those things out, and then that becomes part of the negotiations. You now know where they stand before you start negotiating with them, and then next is when you start negotiating with their agents. You've been prepared, and I think understanding their mindset and their motivation, those go hand in hand for me. I think are very important to properly negotiating for yourself. Because there's negotiations when you're competing against other agents, you are negotiating on commission and things it's part of your listing presentation, and then the negotiation continues to be properly prepared to negotiate. And I think you're going to give some examples here with the buyers on the other side and how you can do that differently.
Yeah, it's so important, Vince, because if you really understood what's really, really ticking, and I am certain that there are people on this call who are doing this. So the seller wants $3 million for their property, but they also want to move in a month. And that this is a moment where you as the agent need to start negotiating with them. Like all this information that you're pulling out not only helps write listing presentation, marketing, create the marketing and the listing description. It is also helping you sit down with that seller and negotiate out their reality. So if you're a strong negotiator, you can negotiate strongly with your client. Don't be so afraid of not getting the deal. Be more concerned about getting the deal and then having them not trust your ability to navigate it to the end. So again, negotiation starts before everything happens. It
doesn't, Mark, as you said, there's a myth, and we've got a lot of good agents that know this is not true. Many people think price is the most important or only factor, and it's not. There's other motivating factors many times that are more important than price, right? If urgency is a situation, I got to get this house sold immediately because I got to get moved with my family to a new location. Price may become secondary to that. So understanding the mindset and the motivations is going to help you be much better prepared in every aspect of being a listing agent.
Anybody who's a good negotiator knows that leverage is the key. And the more leverage you have, and I think laying it out for a client, saying, look, we need leverage. Like, if you want this price, I need leverage. We need leverage. So like, I need more time. Or like, again, the whole point is, and I'm not a real estate agent and I don't coach agents on how to be good agents. I'm a marketer and a brand guy. I just know that like negotiation is critical. You don't want to say you're a good, just be a good negotiator. So start that as you even enter into the conversation with the seller. Turn on that negotiation DNA that you have in your head and present them that side of you. All right, let's talk about social, because social is a different animal than a newspaper ad. Here you can be a little bit more fun. You can have a stronger voice. I also think, Vince, that being fun, modern, innovative also can have some swagger to it. Like Richard Branson's got swagger, and focus on evidence. So again, these ads, this is an idea I came up with, and I'm calling it Denied Granted. That's like my theme. And for this one, I created a little bit of an art direction where I want the word denied and granted applied to the ad as like a stamp, like you might see on a passport. And because I can't help myself, I started thinking, if I could make this campaign strong enough, I'm going to literally create, merch with the denied, a real denied stamp and a real granted stamp, and have them on my desk. And I'm going to literally physically stamp my marketing with these words. So let's just play this out. Offer came in $50K under asking. We priced the home right, denied. This is a little aggressive. It's a lot of swagger. Buyer asked for closing credits. This is escrow, not a fundraiser, denied. It's fun copy. This is the best of what I came up with, a lot of clunkers. So like, don't think that I'm just a gumball machine of good flavor. Like, these are the things that made it. But this is how you sell and market. This is marketing. Buyer's inspector found a concerning crack in the driveway. It's a driveway. They cracked. Denied. I mean, you're putting this out as part of your I'm a listing agent marketing campaign. I chuckled at this one. Buyer asked for a $10K paint credit. The current color is called agreeable gray. Read the room. Denied. This takes a little bit of work. These just don't come to me. They start out as kind of crappy. And sometimes they start out as really long form concepts. What do I want to write? And it takes time to shorten it and shorten it and shorten it until I can get it just perfect. So please don't think that like I'm any more special than you guys are. I just put the time in, and I get a lot of joy when I'm done. And I think marketing could be truly joyful as opposed to a checklist that like, oh, geez, I got to put out 3 more things this week. Let me just get it done with. I think if you spend time writing and thinking and being creative, you're going to find you're a wealth of creativity. But then there's also granted for the buyer. buyer agent, we asked for a new water heater. Our buyer has two teenage daughters. Granted, anybody that's got daughters know they spend a lot more time in the shower than your sons. I got 4 kids. My daughter spent more time in that shower than my 3 boys together. We asked them to fix the gate. No one wants a lawsuit. Granted, you don't need to say the word negotiation doesn't show up in any of it. If any of these are making you smile or chuckle, or just like what just happened, we're conversing with each other. Marketing, in a world where we're all trying to run after attention and visibility, I'm going to keep harping on this. Attention is fleeting and visibility is fleeting. Most social content goes in one ear, gets a like, and then is forgotten 6 seconds later or 6 milliseconds later. But if you can create something that lingers, that people chuckle, the minute somebody chuckles, it means you're ad anchored into a different part of their brain. You're going for that.
And Mark, I like that most of these are pretty much short and to the point. You know what I'm saying? These are not long-winded things, which I think is important.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's, like, I didn't design these. I didn't want to design these as like what they would look like, because I just didn't have the time for that.
Right.
But I want so like here's a campaign that's got denied and granted together. First offer came in strong. Our sellers wanted to grab it, denied gently. We had 2 more buyers touring that weekend. Again, it's showing these are stories. And Vince, you and I, we talk about this often, like storytelling and marketing. Every one of these, this is storytelling.
Yep.
Storytelling doesn't have to begin with once upon a time.
Right.
Okay. Third offer came in, 19K over list, clean terms, solid lender, granted. Sometimes the hardest negotiation is with your own excitement. So that just seemed like that could be an interesting tag. Okay.
So, hey, Mark, before you go on to that, just so that the audience can, in their mind's eye, begin designing how they would deploy this copy, because I think that's an important underscore that I want everybody to know, that this is the copy that you are suggesting that they think through for any marketing outlet, be it an ad, a postcard, their newsletter, whatever it is. But the theme should be around negotiations, right? So if we take one little narrow output, let's call it a postcard, right? And we did a series of postcards as a branding campaign around my negotiation skills. And so I mapped out, 10 postcards over the next 5 months, 2 a month. And I said something like, only hire the best negotiator is kind of the underlying theme of the campaign. And then what I'm doing is deploying every week, maybe one week a denied, the next week a granted. And so what I'm doing is telling the consumer, one, what they can expect from me as their fierce negotiator, but 2, the things that we should be denying and the things that we should be granting.
The key point that I'm grabbing onto, Sam, is what you're talking about, which is consistency. So like this is what you learn in Marketing School 101. This is what you learn the second you join an agency and start working in advertising or marketing, is frequency and consistency. There is a number of how many times a theme needs to present itself before it begins to get sticky. And so again, this is like really the problem with just throwing whatever up onto social. There's no consistency. One day, you're the agent who's dancing to music in a kitchen, and the next day you're riding in your car talking on a fuzzy mic. There's no consistency. So to your point, Sam, if you're going to say, okay, for the next month, I am going to harp on my negotiation skill as my campaign. I want to boost my list. I want more listing appointments. I want to sell people on my ability to do this. Then you map out your content accordingly. And yeah, like one ad could be the granted, one ad can be denied. And this is just one angle.
Sure.
There are many other angles you can take, and I think this deck is filled with angles that you can apply to different formats. But yeah, this would be your content. And I if I were running marketing for somebody, we're only doing this for the next month.
Yeah.
Everything else you create, just store it. We're going to the marketplace with the denied granted campaign and the negotiation campaign over and over and over again until it finally starts to click.
Really good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So like, and again, like, sure, if somebody wants to use some copy here, great. But like, I want to teach people how to fish, not just give them fish. So like, I believe look, I have trained and mentored creatives my entire career. I turned somebody who we hired as a project manager to manage projects. When we had a small office where we were all in one room, it was late in the day. Everybody had gone home. I was working on a campaign. And I asked her if I could just read her some copy and get some feedback. And she said, look, I don't know. I'm not a creative. I'm a project manager. I said, everybody's a creative. I read her the copy. Her feedback was to take one word out of the line, and it made it 10 times better. And from that moment on, I began to train her as a creative. And a year later, she was doing strategy and writing creative copy on accounts, and no longer a project manager. We all have this in us. So I just want to digress there for a second and say, take these, but write your own versions of it. All right, film and video. We're all making video. I'm not going to stop anybody from making whatever you want, unless we're having a one-on-one conversation. But what I would say is, like, there is another realm to video storytelling that we could be doing. And maybe this could happen sort of on the bigger brand. Like to your point, Vince, if we want to make the Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate Home Services brand look more cool, fun, and innovative. So
and by the way, when we're talking about these guys for agents, we're thinking part of why we had this meeting here Monday and Tuesdays. How do we start putting ad campaigns together? How do we start putting, social media posts and other things together that are kind of doing these type of things, marketing our brand and attracting them, buyers and sellers to you guys, our agents?
Now, I know what I'm about to show is virtually going to be impossible for anybody to do here, except maybe at the brand level. I think at the brand level, we could do something like this. But I want to show the impossible, because if you can show, my dad used to always say, to reach the moon, you need to really reach for the stars. You need to go as far out there as you can possibly go. And I know, Vince, you live on that reality, and I do too. Like, how far can I take it? And if I have to scale back a little bit, it's a whole lot better than reaching for just one level up. And that's all you got. You're never going to get into blue ocean. So I came up with this idea. I call it the negotiation Olympics. Like, what if negotiation were actually an Olympic sport? Really just taking it to an extreme. So I began to imagine a stadium where there's a conference table or a table in the middle of a stadium lit. Two agents enter in warmups. One is carrying nothing. The other is carrying a binder the size of a phone book. And the whole story is being told by two announcers. Did you ever see the show, the movie Best in Show? It's about a dog contest.
I don't know if I did.
Oh my God. The best part of that whole movie are the two announcers that are announcing this. So I had those guys in mind. And so the whole story is told through, and there's dialogue. Folks, she's been preparing for this since the listing appointment. I mean, these are the announcers talking to each other. That's a difference at this level, Jim. The match is usually over before anyone sits down. The opposing agent opens up at 8:25 and cites the roof. The crowd murmurs. Announcer, he's going for the roof early, risky. Our BHHS agent slides a pre-inspection report and 3 contractor bids across the table in slow motion. Chalk dust. Whoa, the pre-inspection. We have not seen one executed that cleanly since Sydney. Judges raise scorecards, 9-8, 9-9, and then the French judge gives a 9-4. The announcer, always the French judge, Jim. It's playing into reality. The French always don't grade high. The opposing agent calls a recess. You can feel the stress. Towels off. Waterboy brings a bottle with a long straw. The final move. Our agent says nothing. 40 seconds of silence. Stares. The other side caves. The silence, Jim. She finished with the silence. Now, this is funny. It's impossible to do unless you have a big budget. But I also felt like I needed to end this with something really funny. We fade out and fade back in where the losing agent is in the post interview saying, I mean, I'm a good negotiator. I tell everyone that, and you cut to black. So like, if you think about storytelling through video, sky is the limit between what real estate people are currently making and what's entirely possible.
We should have thought about this for the previous episode for the World Cup.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Like,
Right.
But you could make variations of that. You could do a Super Bowl camp. Again, it's millions of dollars. Like,
Yes.
But this is the thing, you're taught to think big. I always tell my staff, present me the wildest and craziest ideas because we can always scale them back. But if you come in lame, I'm not going to believe you can do any better than that. So like, I'm inspiring all of you to think as big as you can and then scale it back. This is a little bit more scaled back. And this is something entirely doable. Okay, you're the agent. You're the great negotiator. But how do we, at first I thought it would be kind of funny if we depict an agent who wakes up and from the moment she wakes up, she's negotiating.
You're going to love this one. This is great.
Okay, but like, yeah, she's negotiating. She's negotiating with her spouse on who gets the bathroom first. She's negotiating with the kids. She's pulling up and paying a toll because she's on the highway. It's a $5 toll, and she's negotiating getting a $3 pass. That just seemed funny, but not funny enough. And it didn't have the tension I wanted. So the character I created is somebody who's just totally not that. They're not negotiating anything. She's riding in traffic and lets traffic merge. She's at a store or a flea market, sees a product that says $15. She hands them a 20 and motions to keep the change. But now we cut, and now we're at a walkthrough. And now she's fierce. She's looking up, one hand shielding her eyes. And now there's dialogue. Roof cook, that's $15K. Now she's in the hallway. She spots something. It's not right. Moves the rug. Notices that, yep, there it is. The rug's not in the right place. Something's fishy here. So like, you can play that angle. So again, rather than dancing around the living room or opening up a sliding glass door and waving your arms like you magically made the pool outside appear, like and that's what everybody does. Like, here's a way to play the game and sell your eagle eye. Again, your ability, you're stacking up all of these and you're making comments. That's $15K off that. That's $20K off this. You're coming in as the buyer's agent, ready to negotiate hard because you spotted stuff. I also thought, and just switching the gear a little bit, like, again, just basic web copy. Here's copy you can take and you can put on your website. We are mentioning the word negotiation because sometimes you just want to do that and call attention to it. Now, here's the thing. You can't just say something that's clever and expect it to live a long life on its own. The only way anything clever works is if it's backed by proof. So like, how many times have you created a slogan that sounds good, but you can't really prove it? It doesn't have it. It's not activated anywhere in your world. So the slogan ends up just being sort of dead words. But if you can back a slogan with like real proof, then it takes on a much greater life than you ever imagined. We negotiate from what we know so that we can protect you from what we see coming. Those are strong words. Look at your website. Look at your list with us page. See if you have copy, anything like this that really kind of plays to what Vince is talking about, which is being confident, saying it like it is, having a little bit of swagger, and taken a position that no other agent has taken in your marketplace. You're in blue ocean. The last thing I want to show you guys is what we call out of home in advertising. That's like, bus stop, it's bus bench ads, billboard ads. These could also be like social media tiles where it's a cool little background with just words on it. Please initial here. The initials are yours. The terms are too. When they go low, we bring receipts. Every lowball offer meets a folder full of reasons it won't work. See, we're saying negotiation without saying we negotiate. I would, like in a room full of people, I go, okay, here's the headline. When they go low, we bring receipts. Write subcopy. And I guarantee you, everybody would write something cool and it would all be different. So do that. When they go high, we bring real comps. An overpriced home is just a home that hasn't met our research yet. There's so much in that copy. When they bluff, we go dark. 40 minutes of quiet once saved our client 14 grand. Like these are all taken from reality. Think about the realities. Vince, I was telling somebody last week because they were like, oh, where do stories come from? My God, every single day, every client phone call, every client interaction, there's something you said that is a mic drop moment. That's a story. And I mentioned how like of the 1,000 blogs that I've posted in the last however many years, 99% of them came from conversations I had with somebody. That's where the ideas come from. I turn everything that seems like that had an impact into a story. So like every one of these are coming from reality. We're not making anything up. You guys have a million of these stories. Here's a good one. Negotiations are won before they begin. By the time we sit down, we're mostly there to be polite. That just shows a side of you. We all want to show sides of us. I believe in showing the side of you that creates the most value in the transaction. So, I like to work outside with rocks and dirt and build landscape environments, but like that doesn't make me a good brander or a good marketer. So like I never show that content. It's immaterial. I just rather show the side of me that will invite me to somebody's living room.
And Mark, I think I asked you yesterday, I said, hey, you don't have any background on any of these. What would be ideas for background? He says, listen, I don't want to give everything to everybody. I want these people to have to think on their own, to fine tune their skills, to become more creative, right? And personalize this to their self. And that's what we're really trying to force you guys to think different, to improve how you do things. And one thing that, I think we keep saying, Mark has said time after time after time, is marketing is not self-promotion. Remember, Mark continues to say 40-50% self-promotion, 50-60% marketing. Marry the two together. Just don't do all self-promotion. So he's not saying do not do self-promotion. He's saying marry these marketing ideas in with your self-promotion.
Really good point. You do 2 weeks of this kind of marketing, and then you put out a little bit of a promotional ad. People are going to pay more attention to that because it's tied to this meaning that you've created. There's more interest in you. I don't know if we ever get a time for questions or anything. I don't know if there are any questions in the chat.
Yeah, Mark, if you have any questions, we only got a couple minutes left. And then Sam, I was going to ask you, you do a lot of social media. What's some takeaways you have from a social media perspective of this conversation today?
Well, I love the idea because I don't think enough agents are doing themed content that is around their skill set. And I love that negotiation theme. So I can see an agent putting out an entire 2-month series of all of their content is around that skill set of negotiation. And I can think of 500 different elements. And I love that when they go low, we go high, and then the subtext. And in fact, let's do with a couple of minutes that are left here. Everyone in the chat.
Mark's saying he's got a couple extra minutes. So I love this conversation, Mark. Let's always try to leave 5 to 10 minutes for some questions, because I think by you doing this, quite honestly, if everyone's out there thinking, it should bring up some thoughts or questions in their mind of, of how they could do things and ask us. So guys, please ask us some questions.
Yeah, for sure. And in the chat, here's what I think would be really cool, kind of crowdsourcing right now, these sub a copy. So if you bring back, Mark, that one that go when they go low, we go high, and then the subtext, right? That particular slide. So in the chat right now, just as an exercise of creativity, what would be your subtext? Like if people can just start writing in there, because like Mark says, if you just start thinking a little bit, like what would you put in there on whatever copy that you would come up with that might be specific to Florida, the 30A, my friends out down in the 30A, or in Chicago, or wherever you're at. If a main headline was, and walk us through that, Mark, what would be?
Mark, Sam, sorry, there's a couple questions. So one person said, Mark, I don't know if you saw those questions. Can you give one example of marrying self-promotion with marketing?
Yeah, I'll answer both questions.
Okay.
I'll start with Sam's. One thing, if you notice, guys, when I land on I always look for themes. So when they, once I come up with like a when they, I'll write dozens of when they. I'll stay on that because that becomes recognition. I want to make sure that there's more than my logo in my marketing that makes people go, oh, that must have been from Mark Davison, or that must be from blah, 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 Berkshire Hathaway. So even copy can have a pattern. So it's really, I think, Sam, the question is write a when they blank, because that's a lot of, these are all when they. Not all of them, like the please initial here, I couldn't come up with anything else other than that. Just feels like that just felt strong to me. But everything else is when they. So an example of promotional marketing and brand marketing. If a great example is REI, Recreational Equipment Incorporated. They're an outdoor sports store. I cited this in the last presentation. Every once in a while, they'll run a store ad, 10% off equipment, 20% off of equipment, blah, 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 blah. But like they have a theme called Opt Outside. The brand is all about the outdoors. They sell outdoor equipment and they want people to enjoy the outdoors. Why do they want people to enjoy the outdoors? Because it sells more outdoor equipment.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Like if you guys just Google search REI advertising, you are going to see mountains of brand storytelling where they are depicting outdoors people. You never see the founder of REI in any of the ads, but what you may see is every once in a while a 20% off invite into the store to get a discount on something, but you will see way more storytelling about people hiking and camping and sitting in their tent at night with the lantern on and the moon out and just maybe playing guitar. Storytelling. The more storytelling you could do. Now, it works a little bit easier for product companies. When you're a service company, you don't have a product, it's a little bit more difficult, which is why service brands like you guys should do a little bit more promotional than the average product brand. So, your promotional marketing is your just listed, just sold. I think you have to do that every once in a while. Although, Vince, I know we're retiring that, but like I would never ever use the word just listed or just sold ever.
Right. You're still doing it. You're just using different words.
You're using different words.
Conceptually, you should be doing those things. You should be saying it different than has come to be expected.
And that's how you can merge promotional with brand marketing. When you use the headline concepts I've given you, you're promoting, but you're also brand marketing. You're storytelling at the same time. The pantry that can survive an apocalypse is still a just listed postcard.
Yes.
Right. But now you're selling your perception. You're selling your own creativity. You're selling your writing. You're selling a pantry, which God, we all know this, but like my wife showed me a listing this morning that like triggered me calling my agent here in Tucson. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow because it had one thing that we both
Yes.
really, really want.
Yes.
And it's not because it's just listed. If it was just listed, I wouldn't be interested in it. So Vince, that's how you do it. You find ways to merge your promotional and your brand marketing together. It takes a little bit of practice. And it requires you as the brand, the service provider. Like if you're the agent, don't always be your own marketer. You should have somebody who is your marketing wingman, like the other person that you can work with to try to generate these things together. So you're not wearing so many hats at once.
I love the creativity that's happening in the chat right now. So John put in there, my price is firm. And then he goes on the subtext in there is my mattress is firm, but it still gives a little.
Oh my God.
Isn't that wonderful?
We are filled to be a real estate agent and to say you're not creative is just you're denying your own nature. You have absolutely are creative. You have to be something different for every client, every situation that you're in. You are clocking creativity all day long. You just don't realize it. So I think our greatest effort here, guys, is to really just help release that and liberate that for everybody.
I love Melissa's. We don't guess what buyers will notice. We study what makes them walk away.
These are wonderful.
And guys, so I hope that this builds, the number of agents getting on here becomes more and more. And I hope every time you guys take one or two ideas away from here that you can go incorporate in your own business.